Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever really stopped to think about how much social influence shapes just about everything? Our choices, big world events, it's everywhere.
It really is.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into a classic, Elliot Aronson's The Social Animal. It really changed the game in social psychology.
Yeah, it's a big one. Our mission today for you is to really journey through this book. We want to pull out the key insights, the surprising stuff.
Right.
So you understand not just what Aronson found, but why it actually matters, why it's relevant to your life. We're aiming for the full detailed picture here.
And we've got some great source material, key bits right from the book, the table of contents. It lets us really explore his main ideas and those fascinating experiments he talks about.
Absolutely.
It came out back in '72, but honestly, it feels just as relevant now.
It really does hold up.
Yeah. So let's start with why Aronson even wrote it. He apparently felt a bit, well, he used the word coward.
Yeah.
About social psychology being such a young science back then.
Yeah, he felt this real urge to contribute something solid, something that could pull together what was known and make it, make sense to people.
And he wasn't just observing, right? He wanted to get scientific about it.
Exactly. He was all about understanding what causes what. So yeah, testing ideas in the lab under controlled, almost sterile conditions, as he put it. But, and this is key, always with the goal of applying it back to everyday life.
Yeah.
Making that connection between the lab and, well, us.
That bridge is so important, and he gives a really clear definition for social psychology right up front.
He does. It's simply the influences that people have upon the beliefs or behavior of others. Sounds simple, but the implications are huge.
Definitely.
And to make that real, he uses some, frankly, powerful examples, like the Kent, Ohio shooting.
Yeah.
He mentions this teacher from Kent saying someone with long hair or dirty clothes deserves to be shot. Just, wow. Shows that negative social influence starkly.
Chilling. And then there's the Susie Homemaker story.
Right. This girl raised just to be a housewife, suddenly facing the women's lib movement. It's that clash, isn't it? Societal expectations versus these new social currents shaping who you think you should be.
Yeah, and George Wood's too. The black man feeling inferior because of prejudice, because of how media, like even radio shows, portrayed black people.
Amos and Andy, yeah. These stories show those subtle, powerful ways our beliefs, even our self-worth, get shaped.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What makes that influence stronger or weaker in different situations?
And that leads right into this really unsettling idea Aronson raises. What happens when a social role takes over? He talks about this experience of imprisonment.
The Stanford prison experiment, essentially, though he describes it generally.
Well, he describes a situation, where just for a week, people's values just vanished. Prisoners became servile, dehumanized. Guards became almost hateful.
It's terrifying how quickly that happened.
It shows how easily these roles we step into can just override our personal morality.
Okay, so if roles are that powerful, what about just fitting in? Which brings us to conformity.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Doesn't it always?
Aronson sees it as this basic tension, wanting to be an individual versus that very human need to belong, to follow the group. He looks at classic studies, Stanley Schechter's work with juvenile delinquents, for instance. Watching how different roles popped up, the guy who agrees right away, the one who fights it, and the one who kind of resists, then gives in. The slider.
You see that everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then the big one, the Ash experiment, judging line lengths.
The one everyone knows. People surrounded by actors giving wrong answers.
And like 35% of the total responses just went along with the wrong answer, even though it was obviously wrong.
And there was no real pressure, right? No punishment for disagreeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No explicit restraints against individuality. People just conformed. It's this deep, often unconscious thing.
So what dials that conformity up or down?
Well, Aronson points to a few things.
Yeah.
Like if the majority is unanimous, everyone else agrees, it's much harder to stand out.
Makes sense.
Group size matters too, but it kind of peaks. Influence grows up to maybe 3 or 4 people, then levels off.
Interesting. Not just sheer numbers.
Right. And privacy. In that Ashes study, when people wrote their answers down secretly, conformity dropped way down.
So anonymity helps you resist. Okay, so how do we respond to this pressure? Aronson talks about 3 ways, right? Compliance, identification,
And internalization.
Yeah.
Compliance is the shallowest. You do it for reward or to avoid punishment.
Like slowing down when you see a police car.
Exactly.
Hey.
You don't necessarily believe in the speed limit right then.
Got it. Then identification.
That's a bit deeper. You're influenced because you want to be like the person or group, you admire them.
Like a kid copying their cool uncle, Uncle Charlie, as Aronson puts it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Not because they've deeply analyzed the uncle's views, but because they like him.
Okay. And the deepest level.
Internalization. This is where the belief becomes part of you. It fits your own values. You do it because you genuinely think it's right.
Like following speed limits because you actually believe it's safer for everyone.
Right. That's the change that sticks. It's intrinsically motivated.
Which then connects to obedience as a form of compliance. And this is where we get to Milgram.
Oh, yeah. The Milgram experiment.
Mm.
Chilling stuff. People in Bridgeport told to give electric shocks.
And they just did it, even when the learner was screaming in fake pain.
65% went all the way to the highest shock level. It's a stark look at how much power perceived authority has.
Terrifying. And then there's the flip side, almost the uninvolved bystander.
The Kitty Genovese case brought that out. So many people heard her screams, apparently, but didn't step in.
That was 64, right. It shocked everyone.
It did. And researchers like Darley and Latene tested it. They'd stage emergencies, like someone having a seizure or collapsing on a subway.
And what did they find?
The more people around, the less likely any single person was to help. It's diffusion of responsibility. Everyone figures someone else will do it.
So tragic. And no one does.
Which brings up ethics, of course.
Yeah.
Aronson is clear psychologists have a duty. You need to balance getting knowledge with protecting people. Debriefing is crucial after these kinds of studies.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. How does this play out on a bigger stage? Mass communication, propaganda, persuasion.
Aronson uses the Oster riot in 1970 as an example, how rumors spread like wildfire through media coverage, shaping how people saw things.
Right, and the difference between propaganda, which is trying to sway you, it's biased, and education, which should be impartial.
That distinction is critical. The source matters so much.
So what makes a message persuasive? What actually works?
Several things. Source credibility is huge.
Yeah.
Aronson's example. Who do you trust more on nutrition, a football player or a professor?
Professor, probably.
Right. Or his example of J. Robert Oppenheimer versus the Soviet paper Pravda on atomic submarines. Same facts, potentially, but Oppenheimer's credibility, huge impact difference just because of who he was.
Fascinating.
Attractiveness matters too.
Mm-hmm.
We're more influenced by people we like, people we feel are similar to us.
Makes sense.
And the situation itself, there was this eavesdropping study where people were more persuaded by arguments they thought they were overhearing accidentally.
Why is that?
It feels less like someone's trying to convince you, right?
Mm-hmm.
More authentic somehow.
Sneaky but effective.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's influencing others. What about how we influence ourselves? Self-justification.
This is where things get really counterintuitive sometimes. Look at the Schachter Singer experiment.
The one with the epinephrine shots.
Yeah. Gave people this physical arousal, then put them in a room with someone acting either really happy or really angry. The people with the happy guy felt happy. People with the angry guy felt angry. Their bodies were buzzing. But they looked to the social cues to label that feeling.
Wow. So context tells us how we feel.
To a large extent, yeah. Which leads right into cognitive dissonance.
The big one, that uncomfortable feeling when you hold two contradictory ideas.
Exactly. Aronson's classic example, smoking. Cognition 1, I smoke. Cognition 2, smoking causes cancer. Ouch. Dissonance.
So you have to fix it somehow.
Right. You can change behavior, quit smoking. Or change a belief, the research isn't that clear. Or add new beliefs. Smoking helps me relax and stress is bad too.
And often, changing the belief is easier, right? Justifying the action.
Much easier. Aronson stresses this. Our minds aren't just logical processors. They're trying to maintain a consistent positive self-image. So we rationalize. We justify.
Which explains why irrevocability is so powerful. Once a decision is made, you can't undo it.
It suddenly looks much better. Like after you buy a car, you focus on all its good points. Or gamblers getting more confident after they place their bet.
You have to justify the choice you're stuck with.
And this isn't just small stuff. Aronson connects it to huge things, like the Pentagon Papers analysis, how past decisions, needing justification, led to escalating commitments, even when things weren't working. Bureaucracy just tightened the screw, as he put it.
That's a sobering thought. Now, how does this tie into our self-concept?
Well, think about that marijuana study he mentions. Students asked to lie about enjoying it. Some got a big reward, some got a tiny one.
And the ones who get the small reward change their attitude more. That seems backwards.
It does. But think about it. If you get a big reward, you can tell yourself, I lied for the money. Easy external justification.
Okay.
But if the reward is tiny, You can't justify the lie externally. So to reduce the dissonance of I lied versus I'm an honest person, you convince yourself internally, maybe I actually did enjoy it more than I thought.
Whoa, so less external reason means more internal change.
Exactly, which also explains why insufficient punishment works better for long-term change than severe punishment. If the punishment for doing something is really mild and you don't do it, you can't just say, I didn't do it because I was scared. You have to find an internal reason. I guess I don't really want to do that anyway. It internalizes the value.
That makes a lot of sense. And the psychology of inevitability.
Basically, if you know something bad is going to happen and you can't stop it, you start to, find ways to like it or at least accept it to reduce that dissonance. It's an adaptation.
Okay, shifting gears again. Let's talk about human aggression. Innate, learned. What did Aronson say?
Well, he touches on the debate. Mentions animal studies like cichlid fish being territorial, suggesting some innate basis.
Right.
But he really leans towards Leonard Berkowitz's view. For humans, aggression is largely learned. Yes, we might have tendencies, but the social environment is key in shaping if and how we express it.
Which fits with the frustration-aggression hypothesis. Frustration leads to aggression.
Yeah, that's the core idea. He cites Roger Barker's experiment. Kids see cool toys they can't have, get super frustrated.
And then when they finally get the toys,
they're way more aggressive and destructive with them than kids who weren't frustrated first. The frustration boiled over.
Yikes. What about watching violence, like on TV? Does that help get it out of your system, catharsis?
That's the controversial bit, fantasy aggression. Does it release it or encourage it? Aronson points to studies by Bandura, Leibert, Barron.
And the verdict?
Generally, no catharsis. Watching violence, especially for kids, tends to increase aggressive behavior. It sort of normalizes it, maybe even teaches scripts for it.
So if punishment has limits and watching violence isn't helpful, how do we reduce aggression?
Aronson really emphasizes building empathy. He talks about Seymour Fischbach's point how dehumanizing the enemy, calling them gooks in wartime, makes aggression easier.
Like removing their humanity.
Exactly. And he connects that chillingly back to Kent State. If you see the students as less than human, violence becomes more possible. Empathy disrupts that.
A powerful counter. Okay, closely related topic, prejudice.
Aronson lays out some pretty stark data here. Like in '66, how few union apprenticeships went to black workers. Or a Labor Department survey showing similar patterns in skilled trades.
So clear evidence of systemic bias.
Undeniable. And it's not just individual hate, right? He talks about prejudice through conformity.
Meaning people are prejudiced just because it's the norm?
Pretty much. Societal norms, economic competition.
Yeah.
People absorb the biases around them. He notes how attitudes towards desegregation shifted massively in the South over time, partly as norms changed.
So how do you change those prejudiced attitudes? Does showing positive portrayals, like in movies, work?
Right.
The 16mm approach?
It has limits. Aronson points out people tend to just ignore information that clashes too much with what they already believe, that cognitive dissonance again.
Right.
What seems to be effective is the vicarious effects of desegregation, actual contact between groups.
But just being near each other isn't enough.
No, the key is equal status contact. When people interact as equals, it can challenge stereotypes and force them to reconcile their prejudiced beliefs with their actual experience.
Okay, equal status contact. What else?
Cooperative learning. This seems really powerful. He talks about Dorothy Singer's work in integrated classrooms.
What does she find?
When kids had to work together on projects, cooperating towards a common goal, prejudice went way down. Way more positive feelings between groups compared to competitive classrooms.
So collaboration breaks down barriers. Makes sense.
It forces them to see each other as individuals, as teammates.
All right, let's move to something a bit lighter, maybe. Attraction. Why people like each other.
Maybe. Though it's complicated too. Aronson unpacks a lot of factors. It's not just one thing.
Like, does praise work? Dale Carnegie said to dole out praise lavishly.
Yeah, Aronson mentions that. Praise can feel good, obviously. But if it feels fake or like someone wants something, not so much. Authenticity seems key.
Okay. What about this gain-loss theory? That sounds intriguing.
It really is. The idea is we don't just like people who are consistently nice. We actually like people most if they start out negative or neutral and then become positive towards us.
Really? More than someone who liked us all along?
Apparently. And conversely, we dislike people most if they start positive and then turn negative. It's the change, the trajectory, that has the biggest impact. The draftsman example illustrates this well.
Mind blown. Okay. What about messing up? Does that make people like you less?
Surprisingly, not always. Aronson talks about how misfortune and imperfection can actually increase liking,
How?
like JFK's popularity going up after the Bay of Pigs mess up, or a super smart professor spilling coffee. It makes them seem more human, relatable. The pratfall effect.
So being too perfect can be off-putting.
Sometimes, yeah. And, predictably perhaps, physical attractiveness is a big factor right from the start. Studies even suggest less attractive kids get perceived as more aggressive. Unfair, but there.
And the old saying, birds of a feather flock together, or opposites attract.
Aronson says the research strongly favors similarity. We tend to like people who share our views, our interests. Shared ground matters.
Makes sense. What about liking people who like us?
Oh, reciprocal liking is huge. And remember that eavesdropping idea. Darwin Linder's study showed overhearing someone say nice things about you is even more powerful than them saying it to your face.
Because it feels more genuine.
Exactly. Like they aren't just saying it for you.
So pulling this attraction section together, what's the bottom line for good relationships?
Authenticity. Aronson really stresses this. Being willing to express your real feelings, even the negative ones, in a constructive way that builds stronger, more real connections than just keeping everything smooth on the surface. It takes courage, but it pays off.
That's a great point. Okay, finally, let's touch on communication in sensitivity training groups, T groups. What are these?
Basically, they're structured group experiences. Not therapy, Aronson clarifies, but a place to learn about yourself, how you come across, and how group dynamics work. Often involves focusing on immediate interactions, even nonverbal stuff.
So learning by doing in a group setting.
Right. Learning from each other is key. And a big part is learning to give feedback based on feelings versus evaluations.
What's the difference?
Instead of saying, you're annoying in evaluation, you'd say, I feel frustrated when you interrupt, expressing your feeling about a specific behavior. The Sam and Harry example he gives makes this really clear. It opens up communication instead of just making someone defensive.
That's a skill useful